This podcast is brought to you by Manchester City Logistics. Do you need to organise a football match? Maybe you're a teenager who's just reached the final of your biggest competition to date and you'd like to play in front of the biggest possible crowd. Simply entrust the matter to Manchester City, the world's most trustworthy and transparent club, and they'll tell you it's all in hand before remembering some impromptu major building work and switching the tie to Manor Sevens in Kersley. On this episode, triumvirate of genuinely footballery nicknames, Hoddy, Andy and Goldy from Sunderland's Wise Men Say podcast. Hoddy, are you driving to the northeast for this game with the mandatory stop at Scotch Corner, or confusing the old bill by turning up from Newcastle on the Metro and like windmilling your way in?
I'm very boring and going in the car, so there's a few of us in the car. I think the most exciting part is the Weatherby Whaler on the way back, the chippy that I've heard all about, and I'm looking forward to.
When you say you've got a full car, is this you soft launching the idea that if our friend Pete Molyneux manages to find a ticket, you've not got room for him? Okay, lovely. So if he were to try to get in the home end, Goldy, what are we looking at there? Are your lot really up for this, or might there be some spares flying about?
There's not been any real spares all season, to be fair. This is the first time since Peter Reid was manager we've had a waiting list for season tickets. I know some people challenge that because you might see the odd seat on the stadium or whatever. It's not many. I don't know how that happens, but we had a 15,000 waiting list for season tickets in the summer.
People can't part with them. What is it you can't?
So you can sell them back to the club. So you just go on your app and then you release it back to your club. The club gives you. It just splits every game into 19 and divides every game into 19. Sorry, and gives you whatever that is.
Yeah, sort of familiar with this concept of like controlling the output a lot more now. So that means
you can forward to your friends, though. I know some clubs have had issues with that. So as long as my friend's got a membership number at Sunderland, I can make that happen. I can just forward them the ticket if I want.
That worked for me the other day. So I think it is working now in most cases. There's some teething issues at United. So we're not tempted then, Andy, to drive up there on spec. I don't want to induce you into a lengthy ban for trying to watch a football match if it comes on top.
Which Andy?
If I say Andy, it's you, because there's,
right.
And I'll say Hoddy. Is that all right? Unless you want me to start calling you like Pritchie or something.
No, that's fine, yeah. No, I've got no intention of going up there just at this moment in time. There was a small chance that somebody was going on about having a bit of corporate up there, but that's not come to fruition, so I can see us trying to watch it somehow on a 3:00 stream. I don't know how these things happen. Somehow we can make it happen.
Yeah, you'll be going abroad for that, won't you? I mean, that's the age of life we are now, looking for corporates, isn't it? You've been watching the longest probably out of all of us. You've probably got like fond memories of Bobby Stokoe's side. Does Sunderland firmly belong in the top flight to you, Andy?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. No sort of mad issues with them. I was, the last game of the season, I was up there when we won 1-0, and of course City went and nicked it down at their place. So it was a little bit hectic coming out, but nothing that we couldn't handle. Right, they were doing the Poznan inside the ground, but for some reason when we're coming out and they started getting Larry in front of lads' faces, and that didn't end too well for a couple. It was a bit strange, why are you going to stand in front of people who've just lost the title and antagonise them to the last? So that's no problems with them being in the top flight. It's generally a good away day up there. I've been there a good few times. Been to Roker Park, so it's always.
Was that mainly you in 2012, Goldy, doing that? Well, you muted. How was your mic suddenly died? It's not us.
This is a technical interlude.
Now, the joys of podcasting outside a professional studio environment include fully mental things happening to tech, and we think it's likely that spooky, powerful forces who didn't like the intro to this episode sabotaged the original recording. YouTube viewers, for this second attempt, you will notice no difference in hair on Andy or Goldy. less hair on me and a complete lack of hair on Hoddy, as well as a lack of face, shoulders and voice because he's no longer here. We left it with Andy remembering that grim day in 2012 when, after witnessing Poznanning Sunderland fans, Goldy personally taunted him with a mixture of giddiness and extreme violence, and the pair of them ended up before the magistrate. So, Goldy, what was your...
Yeah, we've made up those since, Andy, haven't we?
We have indeed.
Yeah. Do you know what? We talked about this last time we came on early in the season, and Remo had my back on this, actually, saying that this whole thing had been overblown a little bit. It's interesting because I found a BBC piece earlier, and I was going to read out how this frames that whole situation. And it said, as the United players went to applaud the visiting supporters, the cheers of the Sunderland fans echoed round the ground. Despite their own side's defeat, they revelled in United's demise as lustily as if Sunderland had won the league themselves. It just didn't happen like that, I'm afraid. I'm sorry, people are misremembering this. It might have felt like that to the visiting fans at the time. The logistics of the stadium are like, at the time, where if you notice, like, sometimes when you go as an away fan, you're behind a goal, and then you look left or you look right, and then there's a collection of home fans that are the ones, and you think, all right, that's where their daft lads are. They're the ones who are going to give it to us, and you're going to have back and forth with throughout the game. At the time, I was at the other end of the stadium, and I can tell you that nobody at that end of the stadium did the Poznan or really even cheered. Most of us were thinking, what's going on over there? A lot of people had stayed back because I think we were interested to see if United were going to be presented with the trophy on the day. So that's why there were a lot of people still in the ground, as much as anything. It was a selection of people. I think a quarter of the stadium's even been kind. And like I said before, I don't think it was personal. They would have done it to any team who just happened to be there on that day. As all football fans do. Go for ultimate offence, don't they, if they can in the moment.
There you go, Andy. You're full of shit. Get over it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure if it had been any other team, there'd have been the relevance of the cheering or the chanting would have been to that particular team on the day, so to speak.
I remember Stoke City at Old Trafford a year or two earlier than that. United thumped Blackpool, but Chelsea still won the league with the game. Do you remember that one? And they were giddy, but a few of them copped for it outside.
I remember being at Old Trafford, mind, and getting mocked because I think we drew there one game and it confirmed our relegation. And the fans next to us didn't hold back.
I think that was probably more so as well. If it's certainly after 2012, because obviously Ferguson was... he said, like, he'll never forget the fans that day. Like, well, I'm not going to quote him because I can't remember it exactly, but I think he said he'd take great delight in their demise further along the line, so.
Well, at some point we'll have to get over it. Anyway, Sunderland's season in general, though, Goldy, has this gone well beyond expectations? I mean, we spoke in November, but it's been great for you, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, it has. And if anything, we're a little bit frustrated that we're not sitting in sixth place because even the recent walloping against Forest side, and I think their form maybe paints that result in a slightly different light now as to what the league table would suggest. We're at Villa Park and we're 3-3, and then we have more than a golden chance to go 4-3 up in the last couple of minutes, and then miss it, and they go up the other end of the field and score. And I know every team can look back on their results and say, what if that, and if that didn't happen, but in recency bias and all that, that was clear that 3 points were just taken away from us because of one player's inability to score quite an easy chance. And then at Wolves, we'd have battered them about 4-0 if we didn't get the red card. Not going to go on about the red card and the hair pulling and all that being done to death, I guess. But I just feel, we're a few points away. Those points would have us in sixth, and it's frustrating because, you could finish anywhere between 6th and 13th, can't you? But yes, long-winded answer. The season has gone way beyond expectation, absolutely.
Especially, I guess, your manager has his name has about a number of conceivable pronunciations, and I don't know the right one, so I'm going to call him Reggie Labrie. But weren't you all giving it him after that first leg against Coventry last season as well? You definitely didn't expect to be here sort of 12 months later.
It wasn't after the first leg because we won the first leg, but what happened is along the right lines. We lost the last 5 games of the domestic season. So I don't know if any side's ever gone into a playoffs under that sort of form. And he was getting a bit of stick, you're right. was asking people to trust him the whole way through, because it was quite a unique position for Sunderland in that we couldn't go up and we couldn't slide out the playoffs. In fact, we couldn't fall lower than 4th place, even if we lost every game, which we did. So it's not often, with 5 games left in a season, you finish in 4th. And that was the situation. And it was quite a brave call that he did, and he just rested all the players and sacked the season off. And we approached those games with no intensity. We lost them all, and then the playoffs come round, and people were saying, you can't just flick a switch. And we flicked a switch and got promoted.
So has the best thing been the revelation of the new players, or has it been finishing above Newcastle, which is looking likely?
I mean, I wonder what odds you would have got for that at the start of the season to finish it above Newcastle. I'll be honest, they beat us in the FA Cup. They beat us up a couple of years ago when we finished 16th in the Championship, and I cover Newcastle as well as Sunderland, so I watch all their games live, and it was like they were playing a different sport to us, and all of the money they had and everything. I just thought we're never going to get parity again here ever, and I'm not suggesting it's that, because I think they've got the money to rebuild and go again. But yes, it's been quite surreal. From this time a year ago was when we played Coventry on the Friday night, and I can't really put it into words or articulate myself as to what's happened from that moment, and the Newcastle wins and being above them currently, because there's still not a lot in it, is kind of beyond the wildest dreams of most Sunderland fans. But it's been done a sustained way, so it can't always be that. We can't identify by just concerning ourselves with what Newcastle do, obviously.
Now, Manchester United finished third. That will be beyond what most United fans are expecting as well. Listen to this. If it were.
Cream of Manchester. Cream of Manchester.
There's a button there for enabling loop, and I don't want to do that because I've got no idea how I can ride the volume on it and just have it in the background. It's a great shame. This is what happens when you ask Google Gemini for a Cream of Manchester anthem inspired by Handel's Zadok the Priest. And it's also mimics the sound of Champions League qualification for Manchester United, confirmed in the sweetest way with a win over Liverpool, which for us who live right near the ground, Andy, means a lot more interesting nights next season.
Oh, certainly. Well, literally as the final whistle went, I was watching it. I had to watch it in a pub because I never picked one up in the end. But the lad that I go to the European aways with, we were straight into thinking, well, the first thing we did was check how many credits we've got, because obviously that's not coming to play this season at all. So we all had a quick look at our credit situation for the European aways, and then we're just hoping we don't get the usual fucking banal Milan, Munich. We want something a little bit different. We were reminiscing about going to Bucharest last year and what a brilliant trip that was. So we were kind of hoping and praying that we're going to get something like that come next season.
Does that sound spoiled, Goldy?
A little bit. I was thinking about that. A nice problem to have, yeah.
Don't want to go Milan again. It is true, though. It is a bit like Wembley in the old days. There's not enough tourism going on there. It means that the squads are going to be pretty different from had United not qualified for Champions League. And I guess, in Sunderland's case as well, it means that they've got a kind of basis on which to attract players as well, because you were very impressed with your recruitment. United have a fine tradition, though, of offloading players to Sunderland. O'Shea, Higginbottom, Brown, Barnsley, I imagine, I've not checked. And a belated thanks to you lot for David Bellion. But which of this current United squad would excite your fans? How has that changed since November in terms of players you look at from M16 and think, actually, wouldn't mind taking them?
I mean,
I'll remind you as well that Diogo Dalot regularly plays for Portugal.
Well, you know what? When we sort of prepped this a little bit yesterday,
So under
I had
prep.
Dalot in my, an email exchange, very brief email exchange. I had Dalot in my mind because I've seen him live at St James's primarily, And I watch them on the, I know, because that's important because it doesn't always come across transfer on the TV. And I've often wondered, am I missing something with him? Because
he came over as bad on telly as he did in real life. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, as bad in real life as he did on telly. Yeah, not even bad, just distinctly average, I would say. Like
you're being very generous.
Well, because you want your fullback, to have something about them, don't you? It's not what it used to be. They've got to be able to do something on the ball and make things happen. And I've just never seen it with him. I mean, the change from November is remarkable because isn't it funny how all the people who say you can change your manager all you like, it doesn't make a difference. And then when the whole world were looking at Man U then and saying, why is he trying to shoehorn all these players into that system and these tactics, and then you get scoffed at a little bit, and everyone's like, well, I think he knows more than you all do, who were saying this is making a difference. And then you change your manager, you don't shoehorn players into that system, and look what happens. So, that's just an observation from my end,
you're preaching to the converted when you're talking about Andy and Amorim in particular, because I think Andy called him a fraud within about 2 minutes. But
I'm not challenge you. That's all I'm saying. Because
I would never go that far.
It was actually half an hour, Vance.
I would never go that far. And also, I think it's only right to remind people that when we talk about average or bad players, like you're talking about absolute top level, like, these players are remarkable by any standard, but perhaps you're looking for the level above that when you're talking about Manchester United fullbacks. And that's probably how most people think. I'd say as well, founding member of Cream of Manchester, Anthony Shaw, is always trying to correct people on Twitter because, as he points out, all these managers keep selecting him. So it's not an accident, but I think that like United fans generally would definitely welcome at least one more fullback, and United needs to strengthen in midfield. Who would you be gutted to see leave Sunderland and join Manchester United?
Oh, well, wasn't Peter Schmeichel campaigning for Granit Xhaka to sign for United recently? I saw that.
What do you think, Andy?
Well, funny enough, obviously in our group chat the other day, and he was the one name that I picked out myself. Like, he was the only one that I thought, well, because we definitely need a midfielder, so he was the only one I was thinking, like,
as impressive as our season has been, he has been crucial, and without him in the team, we wouldn't have had anywhere near as many points as we've got on the board, because he's just like a conductor in the middle of the park, and he. Bit cliched, I guess, the metaphor to say he just glues everything together. So he's the obvious one. He's just won the Player of the Season award last night. But there are others, Noah Siddiqui, who plays alongside him in the midfield, has been a real find. He has got Chelsea to 80 million quid written all over him because he's exactly the kind of profile of player that they go for and give a 7-year contract to or whatever. His energy is really important for us as well. And then the goalkeeper. An unbelievable find for us, like a Rolls Royce of a keeper. Yeah, Robin Roofs. As good as I've, not even exaggerating, as good as I've ever seen for Sunderland, I would say.
More than Chris Turner?
Before my time, slightly. Yeah, I mean, Jordan Pickford was great, obviously, but he only played for one full season before we got relegated and lost him. As good as you could see he was going to be. Toby Sorensen was decent and all right, but this guy looks next level. And then we got somebody called Norde Mukulele, who plays right back or centre half, equally comfortable. And he's previously played for Paris Saint-Germain, and he played at Leverkusen with Granit Xhaka. And I think the opinion in back in France certainly is that people are amazed that a Champions League team from England didn't come in for him, and he's ended up at Sunderland, and he's a great player. So
great.
They're the obvious ones. Dan Ballard as well, to be fair. I could throw him in as well. Proper old school defender.
Straight swap for either of them with Dallo. Deal done. Many thanks. If you want to get in touch, it's creamofmanchester1878@gmail.com. We do check all our socials as well, and we're happy to hear your ideas for the podcast or for our Substack, on which we've just spoken to the journalist David McDonnell about the Diogo Jota fallout. Other good articles as well are up there, and more to come, including one that's imminent, Andy P, on the FA Youth Cup final. So you and I both live within a short walk of Old Trafford, but it will not be held there.
It won't be. And I can understand from City's point of view. Obviously, they don't want to give up home advantage. But why they couldn't play it in the Etihad, I don't know. Obviously, they've stuck to the smaller ground.
Well, they're saying it's because of construction work, which appears to have been a surprise for them. That's been going on for many months.
I was going to say, when I was there for the derby, it was ongoing, and they're talking about trying to get it open for the last game of the season. Whether that's going to happen or not, I don't know. It seems...
You wouldn't want to face Aston Villa without your new stand open.
Well, I know, with another, what is it, all 5,000
a game that
people.
they won't care about because of...
Well, of course, with everything that happened at Everton the other night, that could become an irrelevance. So, yeah. So it looks like we're going to have to go to that little ground over the bridge, and we'll see what goes from there.
Why the same lads, out of interest, if you're in a position to? It's
Housery,
it's Housery, isn't it? But if you were in a position to do the same, would you do it? Do you think?
There's absolutely no chance, because the last time United got there was they were played in front of 67,500. It was really cheap to go in, so it was amazing. It was amazing, and I think it's a big part of United's tradition. It goes right back to the 50s, where it was a kind of that the Busby Bays were launched on the back of winning the Youth Cup, and obviously Class of '92. People know about Class of '92, named after the year they won the Youth Cup. So it's kind of a big thing. Not necessarily the semis, which is what they seem to be going on about, but the final itself has just always been an occasion. If the team makes it, they tend to get a turnout, and I find it baffling that decision's been taken. It's obviously been left till the last minute, pretty much deliberately, forced into this corner. And you start to wonder why. So would you not, most of these players, 18 years old, probably the biggest crowd. If you did get another, if they were offered Old Trafford to switch it and they declined it. So I would give all my chances for development. I think if I'm a parent of an 18-year-old kid, if I'm the coach of an 18-year-old kid, that's where I want to test them in front of a big crowd, whether or not you cede a bit of advantage. So on the one hand, City fans say, well, yeah, it's a youth game, what are you whinging about? And on the other hand, why should we cede home advantage on it? Sorry, Anne.
Well, the one thing I can't understand at all is that there's no communication from the FA at all. This is their gig. This is their baby. They've not, unless I'm missing something somewhere in the on the socials. The FA have literally said nothing about this all the time. They've just left it between United and City, and predominantly City. To
ruin basically the image of their competition, which is a shame. So why do you think they've done it though? Why do you think? What do you think is a genuine reason, if you don't believe the construction work is, that this has happened and it's not? They didn't just have it in their 50-odd thousand capacity stadium.
Well, I think quite blatantly, they just don't want loads of United fans there in the ground, because that is what is going to happen. And I'm not even too sure it's not going to happen come that small ground on next, was it Wednesday or Thursday night?
What were the criteria for City fans? Because have you got in? What were because they sold out within 1 to 2 minutes, I think, all of the 7,000 seats, didn't they? So,
well, United got something like 950 odd tickets.
968, I think it is.
Yeah, they were gone in a couple of minutes. City fans, if you're a Citizen season member or something like that, then you could have bought not one ticket, by the way. You could have bought 2 tickets per membership, and that was from last Tuesday. So anyway, a couple of phone calls were made yesterday, and
you're in. Yeah, you're in and I'm not. All right. Well, anyway, that's the way it goes. But I think people will always remember why. That would be my takeaway about it. Anyway, back to this game that's ongoing. It's not ongoing. Ahead of us. Whole point of doing a preview rather than a watch along. What is a likely reception up there for Amad Diallo?
Oh, everybody loves him. I was going to ask how he's doing for you, because I know he seems to have been a bit hit and miss. But he was great. He was great for us because he was in a very important period in our recent history, I guess. In terms of, we just come up from League One and spent some really dark, dismal days down there, where I was just saying to you that I was covering Newcastle at the time and they were like playing different sports to each other. And he was the first real glimpse of, I guess, Premier League quality that we'd seen play for Sunderland. We'd had some mavericks by the League One standards and by the lower end of the Championship standards. But he come in and, after a slow couple of months, Tony Mowbray got some confidence into him, more or less gave him a free roll. He used to just roam about, and Championship defences couldn't handle him once he got into his groove, and he would just. There was something about just seeing him smash the ball in the top corner with ease. Absolutely brilliant. He'll get an absolutely unbelievable reception, I think.
All right, he might start then as well. He hasn't
I was
been
going to
doing
say if he starts, yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a sentimental value to playing him there, and there's less risk. And I think, United fans probably worried that the foot will be off the pedal a little bit after that. A lot of emphasis on Brentford and especially the Liverpool game, both of which ended up being won. So, one final question then. Do you want Middlesbrough to be promoted, join you in the Premier League?
There's a debate about this going around because and I suspect probably like you lads, think the Premier League's got a bit Southern-centric in recent years, a bit London-centric, a bit Southern-centric in general, and, the makeup of the Football League at the start was all the Northern lads, wasn't it? For geographical purposes, because Borough's a very easy away day for me, I can just drink in Sunderland and then I can jump on a train in 20 minutes I'm at Borough. But you've got to be careful with, the old hair ruffling around that, because some Newcastle fans were starting to say the same about, it'd be nice to get the time where your Derby back next season and see Sunderland promoted, and they'll be regretting those words now. After we continue to beat them with a record that goes back 13 years in the league, so I'm torn on it, to be honest. I'm on the fence with it a little bit because Borough absolutely hate Sunderland, like they really, really hate us, where we kind of mildly dislike them. They just kind of sit on their own geographically, and Sunderland and Newcastle kind of ignore them, and I think it really winds them up. So what I don't want to do is invite a side who are going to be really up for playing Sunderland and have a hostile atmosphere because they've just been promoted and stuff like that. So I'm thinking probably no, or as good as it would be geographically.
It's just the most boring place to visit, though, isn't it, Andy? And it's such a terrible stadium. Like, for all the identity,
hard to drive in there as well.
It's just, it's not smog for a reason. Like, did you go to that one, Andy? When I think it was immediately after that amazing comeback at Villa Park, when lots of our mates got arrested, and it was one of the best Sunday nights ever. That comeback at Villa Park. And I think the next round, United went out to Middlesbrough, and in a really shabby sort of almost early morning or lunchtime kickoff, and they had a protest, so their ground was mainly empty, and then they knocked a.
Protest.
But a few of them, we stayed up there for a bit, and a few of them looked after us in a social club, I remember. But I always find it one of the worst aways. Anyway,
I don't think I was at that one. No, I remember the game. I think I do remember your game you're on about the protest and what have you. So, but I'm going to say I probably watched that on the telly. But like yourself, I have been up to that new ground a good few times, and it's just a pain in the hole to get to, and it's hardly anything around it, So it's
soul destroying, Gaff. It really is.
You won the league there, didn't you? When you caught Newcastle,
96
12 points clear.
Yeah. 96. Yeah,
Thanks
but it doesn't bother them, and they don't like to go on about it or pretend they've got a rivalry with Manchester United. I need to.
Well, yeah.
I need to hark back very quickly because in the FA Youth Cup chat we forgot to mention. I think our good mate Pete Molyneux is still without a ticket. So if anyone finds one for him, and Hoddy was gonna say before we got cut off that our other mutual friend Stu Truman was at every other round, I think, of the FA Youth Cup and was unable to get one. So assuming he hasn't been sorted out, we are very much in the market. If you want to put us in touch, they won't go directly to me, I can assure you. I'll be very much third or fourth in line for it. What a very confused way to end, gentlemen. We have learned that the Philippines president, Ferdinand Marcos, enjoys jogging. Manchester City can't handle the truth, and monkeys in Gibraltar have started eating soil to settle their stomachs after all the junk food they've stolen. If only one of those things sounds true, it's because this outro is as deliberately confused as the rest of the episode. But they're all true. Mind the metro.